I live next door. The mother and father have been shot. Please come.
These cops were just about to make the worst discovery of their lives at this house of horrors. The twists keep appearing until the very last minute of this video.
Death is a smell you'll never forget in your life. You know as soon as you walk in. And as soon as we walked in that door, we knew.
A couple was found dead, shot in cold blood. 11 of their 13 children witnessed the crime, but the most shocking twist was yet to come.
They had 16 cameras and they were all working. I've covered a lot of murders and this one is the most shocking because it's basically caught on camera.
It was almost silence when we were watching it and seeing it. We couldn't believe what we were watching.
Their killers, disguised as ninjas, set the stage for one of the most chilling cases ever seen. But then something incredibly insane emerges to crack the case. A 6-year-old kid's lead would not only solve his parents' murder, but also lead to the longest list of suspects these cops had ever seen.
Everybody jumps in, doors kicking open. Laid on the ground.
Okay. We already know what happened, and we have the video.
You know, your investigators are really smart.
Okay.
But is there any chance of me going home tonight?
It all started with a frantic 911 call from a neighbor who had been a nurse to the family.
Sheriff's Department, Debbie. I live next door. The mother and father have been shot. They've been shot? Yes. Please come. I'm trying to get somebody this. You said the mother and father both have been shot? Yes. I don't want you to be in any danger, okay? I've got several officers on the way to you. Sorry.
It's something you can't unsee.
The Billings were well known in Pensacola, not just for their success, but for their heart. They had a big family, 9 kids living under their roof, many of them adopted and with special needs.
They had a couple of their own children and they adopted many children. They just wanted to have a large family, whatever way they could swing it.
I believe they are the modern life Brady Bunch, honestly. They adopted a lot of special needs kids and they loved them a lot. If they could, they would adopt every child in the world.
This, however, would turn out to be the last family photo Byrd and Melanie Billings ever took with their children as they were brutally murdered in their own home. But what about the children inside? Were they safe? Or had they, too, become victims of something far more sinister? July 9th, 2009, an ordinary evening for Byrd and Melanie Billings would soon become a nightmare no one could have imagined. The family was home, the kids tucked into their beds. Byrd was in the living room watching TV, and Melanie had cleaned up after dinner. It was just another quiet night in their large, loving household. But within moments, everything would change forever.
I pull up and I see probably half of our patrol deputies on scene, lights everywhere.
What the police were about to find after reaching the crime scene was beyond disturbing. Byrd and Melanie Billings were lying on the floor of their bedroom, lifeless. But that wasn't the worst of it. The children, some of whom were just feet away, were inside the house the entire time. The police were worried about the children and were unsure of what to do with them.
It was sort of surreal because they're carrying babies and toddlers and all different type of ages outside. Just that eeriness of how many kids were in that house and trying to get them out.
8 to 13 kids that we're dealing with.
Soon, 26-year-old Ashley, Melanie's eldest daughter from a previous marriage, took charge, ensuring the kids were safe. In fact, she was the one who urged the neighbor to check the house after one of the kids called her, crying. The parents were unreachable, which was completely out of character. They had cameras installed throughout their home, not just for protection, but to keep an eye on their children. 16 cameras, all recording.
They had 16 cameras and they were all working.
The reason they had the video system there was to keep an eye on all these special needs kids if they didn't hurt themselves.
But on this night, those cameras would capture something straight out of a nightmare. But the most vital detail came from one of the autistic children who'd witnessed the horrific crime. With Ashley's help, the officers interviewed him, who shared a crucial clue that would solve his parents' murder: a red van. The police immediately issued a bolo alert for the van and turned their attention to the security cameras to crack the case wide open.
I've covered a lot of murders, and this one is the most shocking because it's basically caught on camera.
The police wasted no time retrieving the hard drive from the CCTV footage after the incident. Meanwhile, forensic teams worked throughout the night, combing through the bloody scene for clues. It quickly became clear that the killers had tried to cover their tracks. The only evidence left behind was some shell casings and a few boot prints found outside and inside the house where one of the doors had been kicked in. At first glance, it seemed like a perfectly planned crime, and the list of unanswered questions quickly piled up. Who were these people? Why did they target the couple? Why were the children spared? Was their intent to take something more than lives? At the sheriff's office, investigators accessed the video from the Billings home security system. As they began to watch, it was clear. A red van had pulled up and 5 individuals jumped out. Dressed entirely in black shoes, shirts, and masks, they looked like ninjas. 2 men dressed in black, moving like shadows, kicked in the front door and had stormed into the home. At the same time, another group had burst in through the back door. The Billings had no idea what was happening in their house.
You could tell it's obviously planned, military style.
In the footage, Byrd is seen raising his hands, desperately trying to talk to the masked intruders. But 2 other masked men quickly appeared from down the hallway, rushing Byrd and zip-tying him before pushing him to the floor. Within moments, they shot him twice in the legs, dragging him into the master bedroom along with Melanie. Unfortunately, the surveillance cameras didn't cover that area, leaving a dark void in the footage. And then something truly horrifying happened. In front of their children, Byrd and Melanie Billings were executed.
We see there's a little boy in the living room. This little 6, 7, 8-year-old kid watching and seeing his family get killed. It was horrible.
The gang pretty much just ignored him, while this was all going on. And immediately, just kept doing what they were doing.
Rewinding the tape, the investigators hoped to find any clue. They noticed an unidentified object that the killers were seen fleeing with, but the blurry footage made it difficult to discern what it was. Initially, it looked like a robbery gone wrong. Cops asked Ashley to check the house, and sure enough, the safe was missing. But the biggest question lingered: who were these people? Were they strangers, or someone who the Billings were familiar with?
So this is a robbery, a home invasion, but it's also something much more.
Much more, yes, sir.
Is this you wouldn't believe what's really gone on here?
Witchcraft. I'll say that right.
The investigation took a dramatic turn when the first suspect emerged. Byrd Billings' son from a previous marriage, Justin, who had unresolved issues with his father and appeared strangely indifferent. At first, when the police sat down with Byrd's adult son, Justin, something felt off. His lack of emotion made the detectives wonder if he could be hiding something. Could Justin have been involved in the attack?
I didn't know anything about the safes until someone kept asking me what was in the contents of the safe.
Do you know that?
I knew there was paperwork, jewelry, and prescriptions of my sister who died in August. That's all I know that was in there.
They hadn't got rid of them yet?
It's sentimental. My mom wouldn't have gotten rid of it. My mom has everything of my sister Nikki's.
That's pretty tough on the family.
It was the third one that we had to put down, that we had to bury, so it was especially, and it was my mom's biological daughter, so it was even harder.
If I'm here trying to work with you and we're trying to take care of you killed your mother and father.
Yes, sir.
Right, we're executing them.
Yes, sir. My whole family could be a target.
Think about everything you can think about. Because if it's something that you're scared to tell us, or if you're scared of somebody, let us help you. But if you can remember anything or if you know anything, We need to know so we can work it, okay?
Yes, sir.
Justin's reaction raised suspicions. Something didn't seem right. Yet his mother, Byrd's ex-wife, was adamant that Justin had nothing to do with it.
I got a call from Pensacola telling me that Byrd and Melanie Billings was just murdered in their home. And I said, what? I just broke down crying. I was worried about Justin. I met Bud Billings when I was 20 years old. He was definitely a charmer. I cannot have children, so we adopted Justin. Justin was 6 when Bud filed for divorce. And I knew that Justin Billings was no way guilty of pulling a trigger or killing his parents.
At this point, no one was above suspicion. The stakes were enormous, and the case was shaping up to be one of the most twisted investigations the cops had ever faced.
Let's start on Thursday night. You and Greg were together?
Yes, sir. Watched the movie. Got a call from his grandparents saying, dinner's ready, come on over and eat. So we went over, we ate. Got the call from my sister saying that I need to go back to my parents' house. Something's wrong, to get there as fast as I can.
But as the interview progressed, Justin's alibi checked out.
Maybe you suspect someone who could have done this.
There was a guy named Cab that double-crossed my dad with car business or something.
Justin had dropped a key piece of information that turned the case in a new direction.
Him and my dad got into a big argument, and I was there. My dad was disappointed in him for stealing from him. I mean, he said if you needed money, you could have just asked. You'd have to steal it from me. And Cab just stormed out.
With this lead, the police finally had a new suspect to look into. Could this business dispute have been the reason behind the deadly attack?
In the South, you don't speak ill of the dead until they're buried. So my thought was, okay, once we get the funerals over with, somebody's going to come forward. We started hearing that Bud was a great friend, but he never got the wrong side of a business deal. The stories that we were getting were the people that had used car lots with them. He would find a successful salesperson. He would help them finance the cars. But then when the sales start to fall off, he didn't hesitate to take the whole lot from them. And there were stories of him coming in the middle of the night, taking all the keys, moving all the cars in the lot, and the guy going back to work to a lot he thought he had with no cars.
When the police brought in Cab Tice for questioning, they knew he had a rocky history with Byrd Billings.
In business, Bud Billings wouldn't give you a dime unless you got 29 cents back. Bud Billings' favorite statement was this, and as you interview people, they'll all confirm this. He'll say, you know what, over these years, I had so much cash that I could not spend it before I died. And when this whole thing happened, those words rang in my ear. I have more cash, and I think it was right.
So there was a question whether this was just purely to burglarize the Billings, or was there some other motive behind this? Was it a hit? Was there a revenge motive to this?
And we showed you a picture of this van right here, right?
Yes, sir. I've never seen that van.
You've never seen that van?
No, sir.
What's your theory of what happened?
Well, everybody in Pensacola knew. When he built that house, everybody said, well, the security system that he put in there is to protect this house. So everybody thought, well, maybe that's where he keeps his money.
They asked for his alibi, and Cab confidently told them he was working at a car dealership that night, an hour and a half away from Pensacola, far from the crime scene. After some digging, they confirmed Cab was indeed where he said he was. With no solid evidence tying him to the murders, they had no choice but to let him go.
We let him go, letting him know that we had to follow up, checking his alibi and verify everything that he said.
The investigation was once again brought back to square one. But if not him, then who? The motive was clear, but the killer was still out there. With more questions than answers, the police decided to take a gamble. They aired the CCTV footage, hoping that someone might recognize the red van caught on camera at the Billings' home. It was a long shot, but it worked. On July 11th, 2015, a man called in claiming he had seen that very van in his neighborhood. This tip was exactly what investigators needed. The caller revealed that he used to own the van, but had sold it to a man by the name of Patrick Gonzalez. This lead was huge. Detectives quickly followed up, digging through their database for Patrick Gonzalez's address. When they arrived at his home in Santa Rosa County, what they found was chilling. Peeking out from behind a trailer was a van that looked just like the one in the CCTV footage. Could this be the same vehicle that had been involved in the murder? With suspicion mounting, the detectives obtained a search warrant. There were paint cans in the backyard of the house, pointing out that someone had tried to change the color of the red van. Detectives found the receipt of the spray can at Gonzalez's house, along with burnt clothes, which raised even more alarms. But the most damning piece of evidence? A Walmart shoebox with a pair of boots that perfectly matched the prints left on the door at the Billings' home.
So, as we started investigating Gonzalez Jr., we learned that him and Bud Billings were friends and knew each other.
They knew each other in the car business. Patrick Jr. would work at different car lots. They would do these big tent sales, and he'd be one of the army of salespeople that would do that.
The trail soon led to Patrick Gonzalez, but it wasn't as straightforward as it seemed. There were two Patrick Gonzalezes, a father and son. And somehow, both appeared to play a part in this grim story. But who else was involved? As the investigation heated up, it was clear that the web of suspects was only getting more tangled. When detectives sat down with Leonard Gonzalez, the father of Patrick Gonzalez, they didn't expect what came next. At first, Patrick played dumb and denied any involvement in the case. But once the cops applied pressure, he broke down and unleashed a confession that flipped the case on its head. In a shocking twist, he revealed a horrifying secret about his own son.
Okay, you pull in the driveway, what happens? Everybody jumps in, doors kicking open, right on the ground. Okay, all right, and that's all I thought it would be.
He just basically spills his guts that it's his son.
You said you were still in the van. What did you do next? Got in the driver's seat. Uh-huh. And then what happens after that? We get down in the yard and everything's going fine, and then all of a sudden, I'm out. Okay.
What'd you think when you heard that pow, 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 pow?
I liked it. For myself, I thought, oh dear God, no.
Yet Patrick only knew a fraction of the people involved. Most of the so-called ninja killers were still unidentified.
They come back, they get the van, where do you go?
Go straight back to my house.
You know where any of the guns are or might be now?
No, sir, I have not the vaguest idea, so help me God. For the record, is there any chance of me going home tonight?
No, sir. I'm sorry. I can't let you go. But I will do what I said, and that is the court will be aware that you have cooperated.
What followed was a spiral of confusion and chaos. And believe it or not, the most mind-bending twists were still to come.
An actual murder had never come into the conversation. I was under the impression that the guns were going in there that hit the ground. Now, open the safe. Give us your money. Give us your jewelry. And actually, the opposite appeared to happen.
How many were with you?
6.
Besides you?
Correct.
So 7 total?
Correct.
The police now had more work ahead trying to untangle the web of players in this deadly game. Patrick Gonzalez sat across from detectives, a man with a violent past and an air of confidence that felt out of place. He was proficient in martial arts, a man who dabbled in MMA fighting. Gonzalez wasn't just any suspect. He was someone who knew how to hurt people, and that made him even more dangerous. He knew Byrd Billings. The two crossed paths when Gonzalez worked at one of his car dealerships.
We appreciate you coming here today.
Believe me, when I saw the pictures on the TV, I was like, damn, and I know the guy, so I'm thinking.
You know what guy?
The guy that this is about. So I was like,
You saw the picture of the van on TV?
Yeah.
Man, that's your van.
Excuse me?
That picture is the same van that's in your yard, right?
It's similar. Very similar to that van, but no, it's not. It can't be the same van. It's not the same van.
You know about Mr. Bud. Thursday, what were you doing?
Just running around, taking care of errands, talked to my dad. In fact, I know that it was Thursday because that was the day that he got all pissed off at me. So.
Your dad did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really sketchy. He's got some serious issues. So don't take anything he says to, oh my God, this guy's a suspect. Because he's just, the guy's got brain damage, you know that. I don't know if y'all know that, you will know that. He's got brain damage. That's not the same man.
Okay.
If I was going to do something, or anybody that I know would do something, I would not let him do it in my van. The thing can hardly move anyway.
So you can't tell me for sure this is not your van?
Yes, I can.
The only thing you can tell me right now is you weren't driving it that day.
But I know that that van was there. That van was not involved in any crime.
The tension in the room was thick. The detectives needed answers, and Leonard Gonzalez Jr. wasn't giving them any easily. It wasn't long before detectives got a huge break in the case. Surveillance footage from a Walmart showed Patrick Gonzalez shopping for boots, the very same ones he wore on the day of the Billings murders. But he wasn't alone. Alongside Gonzalez Jr., there were 3 other men, all casually walking through the aisles. Detectives quickly identified them as Gary Sumner, Donnie Stallworth, and Wayne Coldiron. They weren't just random faces. These men all knew each other, connected through a mechanic shop, and now they were tied together in something far more sinister. The investigation had finally picked up momentum, leading to the names of 2 more men, Rakeem Florence and Frederick Thornton. Now there were 7 men tied to this chilling crime.
You guys contacted us and wanted to tell us what you knew about the incident in Pensacola, right?
Yeah, I was scared, you know what I'm saying, until my mom came to me like, you just gotta break it down to him and tell him the truth. Yeah. And they got out the truck, all we heard was, and we see they got guns coming back out.
They got guns?
Yeah.
Who had guns?
Everybody, you know what I'm saying? They come back out and say, if you tell anybody, your whole family is dead.
What happened?
I just, for real, man, I just don't really want to go down for something that I didn't really know was going to go down.
We already know what happened, and we have the video. Let's get to the truth of the matter. Did you see who shot?
Yeah.
Okay, who shot?
Gotcha.
And we got to take the guns and stuff and put it in the van.
Yeah, it was put in the van that was there at the mall, the antique mall when y'all got there, correct?
Yeah. And then you see this woman for the first time at an antique shop. Does she say anything at all? Do you hear her say anything? Even if it's, hey, hello, I mean, did you hear her say a word? Did she stand there with Pat next to him or come back?
Walk to the antique shop.
Can you give me a brief description?
Really don't know if she had long blonde hair.
Long blonde hair. She looked older, younger? Older.
But what turned out to be more shocking than this was one of them pointed their fingers at the 10th suspect in this case. There was yet another person involved in this gruesome crime. Who was she? Was she the ringleader? The mastermind?
We believe that Miss Long has significant and substantial information that we need to conclude this case.
With 7 suspects in custody, a surprising twist turned the investigation upside down. The final piece in this puzzle was a woman named Pamela Wiggins. She was identified as a successful real estate agent who had used Patrick Gonzalez as her henchman. Patrick Gonzalez didn't just know her, he worked for her. He collected debts and helped evict tenants when necessary, acting as a muscle man for Pamela. The police got a tip from a yacht mechanic about Pamela Wiggins. On a luxury boat in Orange Beach, Alabama, just about 30 miles southwest of Pensacola, With that, the detectives brought her in for questioning. Pamela was in the police station with her husband, Hugh Wiggins. At some point, they were in the interrogation room awaiting instructions. Perhaps Pamela was wondering if her secret had already been exposed or if she had successfully managed to get away with the crime. But what was about to happen next was so unexpected that she couldn't have ever imagined it in her wildest dreams. Hugh walked into the sheriff's office ready to make some shocking revelations. Armed with every detail needed to solve the case, he was ready to end this case and her freedom right then and there.
The first question we have is, where is the safe?
Do you want me to tell you, or do you want me to take you to it?
I want you to tell me at this point.
Well, first of all, I don't know for a fact that it's there. I was just told that it was there.
Who told you?
Pam told me.
Do you feel comfortable going forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the best I can.
All right.
You know, your investigators are really sloppy looking at things.
Okay. Can you tell me where the safe is located?
The safe is located in the rear corner of my yard under a pile of bricks.
Okay, and also the weapons, the guns.
They are with a friend over in Mississippi. I'll have to arrange to get those back.
But the most insane twist in the story was the safe. These suspects had made the worst mistake of their lives. Ashley revealed to the police that the safe the intruders took was the wrong one.
As a result of the intense speculation regarding the motive of the crime, I have been authorized to tell you that the safe that was removed from the Billings home contained only children's prescription medication, important family documents, and some jewelry of sentimental value. Hopefully, this will put to rest the intense speculation and rumors that are swirling about the Billings family.
She pointed the detectives to the other safe, the one still in the house that held between $100,000 and $200,000 in cash from their used car business. The killers took the wrong safe, missing out on the real prize. Like Justin had previously mentioned, it held only important documents. They killed a couple in cold blood for something utterly worthless. At least the child's testimony gave the police a solid starting point, guiding them in the right direction early in the investigation. In the end, it was the child's bravery that sparked a chain of events that ultimately unraveled the entire case. As the case unfolded, all eyes were on Patrick Gonzalez Jr. He was pointed out as the triggerman, with many insisting that murder was never part of the plan. Charged with capital murder, Gonzalez Jr. faced trial in October 2010. Ultimately, he was found guilty and sentenced to death.
Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Gonzalez, you've been arrested on charges of homicide and home invasion and robbery with a firearm.
As to the charge in count 1, Byrd Billings, we the jury find the defendant, Leonard Patrick Gonzalez Jr., guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
Meanwhile, two suspects, Rakeem Florence and Frederick Thornton, struck a deal with the state. They agreed to testify against Gonzalez Jr. in exchange for lesser sentences.
We walked Florence and Thornton through the video, and they would say, "That's me, that's this is this person." It became alive through them. So you brought almost a color commentary right there from the guys who were inside the house. I think it worked effectively.
The others involved in the crime were convicted as well, but their sentences varied. Some received prison terms ranging from 20 years to life. It was a harsh reminder that crime has serious and inevitable consequences. In a tragic twist, Leonard Gonzalez died while serving a sentence on June 13, 2015. Merely a month later, on July 23, 2015, Pamela Wiggins also died in the same fashion. In the aftermath of the trial, detectives couldn't help but wonder what pushed Patrick Gonzalez to commit such a horrific crime. Was it greed or something deeper? Publisher Rick Outson suggested that Gonzalez Jr. might have seen the Billings as obstacles standing in the way of a potential business opportunity. Patrick had approached Byrd for money to help with his martial arts studio, but Byrd wasn't interested in investing in his business. That rejection seems to have sparked something dangerous in Patrick Gonzalez. The emotional fallout was devastating. The children were left grappling with the loss of their adoptive parents. They'd lost the love, guidance, and security that Byrd and Melanie provided. Now living with Melanie's adult daughter, Ashley, they're surrounded by love and support. But the void remains. They'll always wonder why this happened and how their lives could have been so different. The murders of Byrd and Melanie Billings shocked everyone. What looked like a robbery turned into a much darker story. Though justice was served, the memory of that tragic night will never be forgotten.
I asked you if there was anything that I could do for you, and your response back to me was, Sheriff, find the people who did this. It is my honor today to tell you, Ashley, and your family, we have found them.
Thanks for watching M7CS. If you want more true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next case.